to the X-Bomb Sports live show. My name is Andrew Valentin. I hope you're all having a most awesome Monday. We are live here from the Illinois Media School in the O'Hare campus. I hope everybody's having a great day out there. Folks, it has been a long time since we've done a Monday show. Due to some scheduling issues and technical difficulties here and there, we've had to kind of figure out different ways to do Mondays and stuff, and more changes may still be yet to come. So I hope everybody can just kind of hold with us while we're still trying to figure some stuff out. But, ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome everybody here to the show. If you guys want to always see the show, as always, we are streaming, of course, live on YouTube and on Twitch. It's youtube.com/xbombsports and twitch.tv/xbombsports. If you guys have any questions or comments you guys want to throw at us on the public and also want to follow us on the social media stuff, we're starting to do a lot more with the social media things. You guys can hit us up at xbombsports on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And now we're even on TikTok. That's right. Finally got the X-Bomb Sports TikTok going, courtesy of our boy Frank the Tank, cutting us some clips, some highlight reels of the shows we've been doing. So want to be able to say thank you, Frankie, for all the work that you've been able to do for us. Appreciate it from us here at X-Bomb Sports. Blow the whistle, bad karma, all the good things that you've been able to do for us, amigo. Appreciate it so much. And, of course, too, ladies and gentlemen, any questions or comments you have as well you want to direct strictly to me and the rest of the crew that you want to kind of keep on a more silent level, which you guys always do, you guys can hit us up at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. We'll be answering some of your questions that came as of late from this week. So, without further ado, I think it is time, ladies and gentlemen, we get into this one. It's going to be a relatively kind of shorter show, so I hope you guys do not mind that one. But we're going to kick this one off with college football talk. And I know you're wondering, well, Andrew, college football is over with. Why in the hell would you be talking college football? Well, if you don't know, there's a big story brewing in college sports right now that has to do with a certain quarterback. If you haven't heard, a young man by the name of Nico Iamaleava, who is the star quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, a highly recruited kid, 5-star, all the top stuff. He is officially entering the transfer portal after diminished talks with the University of Tennessee and their football program over his NIL deal trying to be increased from $2 million to, get this, $4 million. Interesting. Apparently, the two sides were trying to negotiate out a deal. Nico and his representatives were trying to see if they could get the $4 million raise. Obviously, it's a lot of money, but he's a talented quarterback. They made the college football playoff, and he was, I don't know if he was the most important, but he was certainly a key piece in helping them have such a good season like they did. Unfortunately, in the college football playoff, he did not play to his best level. He had a bad game against Ohio State. They take an exit, and from there, the question then becomes, okay, well, he certainly feels like he's worth way more money, but what does Tennessee think? Well, according to the Tennessee Volunteers and an official that had a statement to make, apparently Tennessee was not budging. They were not going to blink. And with that, Nico Iamaleava decided he was not going to make the first attempt at spring practice and instead announced that he was going to enter the transfer portal, which was a huge shock to everybody. But at the same time, knowing what was going on, I don't think anybody was all the bit, mind blown that this was something that was going to happen, right? Because when it came down to it, apparently this is a young man who we all believed is certainly talented, but from what reports are coming out, apparently this is a young man who is not maybe the best team player, shall we say, right? Not to say I don't think he necessarily doesn't get along with others, but it was reported by Alan Bell, who on Twitter basically put out there that apparently some more context into Nico's situation. Apparently he was breaking multiple contract clauses for his NIL deals, which included things such as autograph sessions, meet and greets. Apparently he was the kind of guy who did not want to show up for these things. He didn't sometimes even want to answer messages about, hey, are you going to be here? I know you might be running a little late. What's going on, right? There's a lot of apparently coaches and players that were not very happy with Nico and what appears to be his big bravado and ego that's somewhat bled out, I guess, onto the team. And a lot of them apparently are saying, hey, good riddance. We don't really need him as the quarterback. We will be just fine without him. And Josh Heupel has said that we will move on from him, and we've got good players, and we're ready to go. And, the basic blanket statement a coach would give you and say. But ultimately, it's a fascinating thing because on top of all of that, Josh Patty, who runs the he's on 24/7 Sports with his own show. He's got his show, the Josh Patty Show. He has reported recently that apparently Nico, amongst a number of other players, had discussed a holdout, right? Staging a work stoppage, if you will, for the college football playoff if they were not paid more money. That is the latest report that has been since coming out for the college football talk that we have been seeing. This is exactly what Josh Patty had to say on his show. This stuff was happening last December during the playoffs, with this kid included, but not just this kid. They were trying to get more money from Tennessee and other playoff teams before the playoffs. They were trying to leverage playoff participation. He also went on to say, our client is being apparently this is according to the agents. He said, our client is being paid X amount of money to participate in 12 games, maybe a 13th game, if you make the conference championship game. But you guys made the playoff. He should make more money. He should make money. And then Josh Patty says, this is the kind of BS that's happening behind the scenes right now. And he's not wrong. Like, look, the moment these guys are getting paid is the moment that I think some of these kids get the inflated heads, the inflated ego, right? You will get the agents who are a little bit money hungry, right? They want to get the cash. They want to get bought in. They want to be able to say, hey, we made a good sum of money. We're doing a lot of splendid stuff. There's a lot that you can buy in with what's happening now with NIL. I don't think it's just one thing. I think there's multiple avenues you can fall into as far as, well, why isn't this working? Why isn't that working? Why, you could do a lot of different things on that. One of the big issues, though, I think that is commonly happening, I think, with NIL is this is now going to be the case study, right? And the issue is that there is no regulation. There is no rules to this stuff, really. It's wild, wild west. Pay however much you want for whatever players you want, and that's how you kind of dictate how things go, right? There is no set rhyme or reason. There is nothing that will allude you to the idea that there's going to be some sort of, like, distribution, issues or anything like that. Sorry, it's been a day. There's a lot of energy that's been burning up in here, and it's not even mine. So, it's a quality kind of thing that I'm looking at when I see how the NIL situation is spilling out. Right? It's not having sort of rules in place to make sure that XYZ amount of spending is being made. There's no kind of restrictions on contracts or what a kid can do for the portal, buybacks, buyouts, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's got to be some sort of NCAA legislation put into play to make sure that this is controlled, because that is part of the problem here. The flaws, the cracks of the NIL system are being shown. As much as we all sit here and say we love the chaos, we love seeing what we've seen thus far as the control and everything and that the kids have now to get paid and make their destiny and all that kind of stuff. This is one of those things where you have to wonder, like, when is enough, right? And look, when it comes to the NCAA, how much say are they going to have over what teams can do for their NIL and what players can do for their NIL. I mean, that needs to still be figured out. But I think we're going to have to start approaching some real restrictions being made, right? I mean, you got to say maybe something like a salary cap, potentially, right? You may possibly have to start telling these kids you're going to have to sign a 2-year My thinking is you're going to have like basketball rookie contracts. For those that don't know, basketball rookie contracts are 2-year deals for the player with a 3rd-year option for the team. Now, I don't know how you work that 3rd-year option, but I would say, I don't know, you would make it like a half and half maybe. Half player option, half team option. Both sides have to pick up the option basically for the player to stay with the team is what I would say, right? So you've got 2 years, your freshman and your sophomore year, that the team makes the decision of saying like, hey, excuse me, we want to stay with you, right? You sign with us, you're with us, right? Now, once that 3rd year hits, the evaluation begins of, does the player want to stay with the team? No? Okay, now you can go to the transfer portal. Does the team want to keep the player? No? Okay, he can go to the transfer portal. And if a kid wants to transfer before his contract is up, then it's essentially like a buyback or a buyout clause to get the kid out of the school, right? Okay, you give us back whatever, X amount of dollars. We gave you X amount of dollars, and you go to the transfer portal, but you're gone. You're going away, right? There's also, by the way, too, I think you have to put out there the possibility of what we discussed a couple weeks ago on the Short Fuse Friday. Myself and Scotty, we were kind of talking about, how to handle this, transferring of college guys. And I said, one of the coaches from Grambling brought up the idea of, hey, what would be really smart is maybe if we decided that we have some sort of like transfer fee, or, you pay the college for the player that's transferring from the school. I mean, it's these little things, I think, that are going to help regulate NIL, kind of give a better feel and a better opportunity for some of these kids to kind of not have to jump. It's going to give a little bit more of a landscape to college football, because right now it's very rough. Guys are jumping ship every which way trying to find a new school with either the potential for more player, the potential for more money, or the better coaching, or the better opportunity to maybe go to the NFL. So many different things are being tossed into the pot. Who knows what the reason is why a kid is transferring? Only they can actually tell us. But they're not going to, because the moment they do, they're going to be labeled as Judas or whatever you want to call it, right? Betrayer, anything. So I think when we look at the NIL situation, when we look at how, the college, not just college football, but college sports in general, the NCAA has to start looking to regulation. In some regard, rules need to put into place. I'm not saying kill NIL in the transfer portal, like I've seen a lot of people start to say. And I don't even think some of those who are experts in this business of sports talk, who are kind of like a little bit against the NIL and transfer portal, they don't even sound like they're saying like, hey, get rid of this. But there do need to be rules put in place in order to make sure that these kids are not flying away willy-nilly because they just feel the need to be like at a better school, get more money, whatever the case is. Now, I don't know if this is just Nico Iamaleava's personality. It sounds like it might be the case according to Alan Bell's reporting. This could also be, though, the agents influencing a young kid who's talented and they see as a cash cow, as the potential to make mucho dinero, right? Whole lot of money, okay? It's hard to tell, but I think it might be a combination of the two. The kid is a young man who's a star, knows he's a star, probably has a whole lot of ego bleeding through. And you've got agents who are kind of like, look, we think he's worth a lot more money. I mean, you just saw it there from Josh Patty. He just said, we think he's worth a lot more money. Right then and there, that instantly says, you got a kid that's hyper-focused on being a celebrity athlete, I guess, if you will. And you've got agents who are super obsessed with getting this kid paid because they want to get paid. And that's a bad combination. Look, we all want to make money, right? We all want to make the biggest X amount of dollars. We want the better job. We all want that stuff, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to be careful and cautious, I think, at the same time, too, when you're letting your wild dreams kind of fly off the handle, right? Nico and his agents obviously thought that he was worth $4 million. They may now find themselves saying the grass was actually greener at Tennessee. It's not to say nobody's going to pay that money, but the possibility that you had a lot of success at Tennessee was right there in front of you. You just made the college football playoff, and you looked like you might have been getting better. Now you're leaving, and you're going to go to a new system with a new coach and a new team, and you got to learn a whole new set of rules now, a whole new world. Can he handle it? Can he provide? Because I'm hearing Cal and BYU and UCLA, the usual suspects for a guy from the West Coast. Now, though, there's a lot of talk saying, well, UNC's got $20 million in NIL. They can afford the $4 million. They need a quarterback. Bill Belichick is the head coach. Why would Nico Iamaleava not think that that's a chance to not only have success in college football, but possibly even make the NFL? Hey, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea at all. But I also am one who believes that his personality, being a diva, which my guy David Dykstra brought up, well, Bill did deal with a diva and Tom Brady, right? But Tom isn't the most boastful diva, right? He doesn't seem to be the most self-absorbed guy. Like, I thought Brett Favre was a way more self-absorbed guy as a diva than anything. Aaron Rodgers certainly is, of course. I don't know. Could Bill deal with that? It's college. It's a little bit different story than the NFL. Perhaps he could, but time will tell if this was the right decision for Nico Iamaleava to make or not. Time will certainly tell us if this was the right move for him in his career. If he succeeds in college football and he goes to the NFL, then the move was the right move to make. But if he goes to another school and he doesn't have anywhere near the level of success that he had at Tennessee, doesn't make a college football playoff, and Tennessee goes on a run and has another great year again without him, he's going to get dogged constantly. And what's even more interesting is that his recruiting class includes Arch Manning, right? The class that came in out of high school, he came in with a bunch of five-star kids. All of them except for Arch Manning have now transferred. Dante Moore went from UCLA to Oregon, where he originally committed before UCLA. Malachi Nelson was the next star, I thought, at USC. He went from Boise State now, where he didn't get the starting job, and transferred now to UTEP. Small school, middle nowhere. Jackson Arnold tried to cut it at Oklahoma. He was a star in the state of Texas. Now he's going to Auburn, where, I think he'll have success, but I don't know if he's going to have like his Bo Nix moment like I think people are looking at him to have. And now Nico's in the transfer portal, and you don't know where he's going to go. The only guy that stayed committed to his team, and that's because they showed commitment to him, and that's he showed his loyalty, is Arch Manning. And I think it's because he has good people around him telling him good advice, giving him good lectures on what to do and what not to do. And he's also on a program that just made the college football playoff and has the potential, maybe, depending on how players grow and ramp up and how he plays, they could be bound for a national title again. Anything's possible, but it shows that there is certainly still a level of maturity for a kid like Nico Iamaleava and others out there that maybe needs to be, that needs to be grown, that needs to increase. I wish him all the best, I don't know if he's making the right decision or not. It certainly has now become a muddled situation for college football. It needs now to come down to the NCAA saying, we got to figure out how to handle this situation, make sure that this does not happen. Rules need to be put into place in order to make sure that we don't have to deal with this fuddled mess anymore. It's a cluster up, and you have to try to avoid this happening, because if they go to a work stoppage in college football, that's going to cause a hell of a lot of problems. But folks, please let us know what you think about the situation. Nico Iamaleava leaving Tennessee. Your thoughts? Like it, love it. Where do you think he goes next? What do you think about NIL deals? What can you do to help? What do you think the NCAA and college football in itself and college sports in general can do to help themselves regulate and structure NILs better so that we don't see this kind of mess happen more so at the forefront? It's happening in the background. I do believe that. But what can they do potentially to stop it in the happening from getting to the upfront where it's so public? Let us know, ladies and gentlemen. We want to hear from you in the comments. Comment in our Twitter. Comment on the Instagram. Comment on the Facebook. Comment on the email, xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. We love to hear from you guys on that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, we're going to answer your fan questions. We got a plethora and a bundle of things to talk about, all in consideration on different sports. That's coming next here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
Man, I'm so hungry. I need somewhere to eat fast. I have no idea where to go.
Psst. Hola, me llamo El Taco de Taco. You know where to go for the amazing taste that'll have you craving more? Taco Bell.
All right, can I get 20 tacos, please?
You got it.
Thanks, Taco.
De nada.
Good. That's it. Eat the tacos.
Taco Bell. Live más.
Hey, watch your mouth. Wine. I'll just put a quarter in the swear jar. Once it's filled, we get a Coors party after work. I've been drinking Coors since my college days. The cold draft taste is second to none. Yeah, worth the recorder, am I right? You know it, mother.
Hey, you get those reports done?
Yeah. No. You, sir. Attention, employees.
The staff meeting, scheduled for this evening, will now be held tomorrow early as
Who's all? Dude, you're only 75 cents short. Oh, shh. It's the boss. Hey, sir, go yourself. You're fired!
All right, and welcome back, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. I'm still Andrew Valentin. I hope you're all having a wonderful time watching this one. We just got done talking about Nico Iamaleava, Tennessee Volunteers football team, and the NIL situation at hand right now in college sports. And, of course, we're kind of at the lull point of sports. There's some stuff going on, and we'll get into that here more so as the year progresses on. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time to do X-Bomb fan questions. Yes, once again, we are answering your questions. These are the most recent questions that I had We had others obviously filtrated in, but these are the most recent questions that we've been answering. So if you guys have any questions you want to send us, again, xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. We want to hear from you guys as always. We appreciate you guys always sending in this stuff, of giving us some great questions, some great comments, things that I can always kind of work and be able to listen to and things like that. So you guys, means a lot to me that you guys will always send that in. So without further ado, our first question, ladies and gentlemen, this comes from a guy, Darren. Darren is asking us from Iowa City, Iowa. He he asked us, sorry, my brain broke there for a moment. He asked us, Rory McIlroy winning the Masters. He completes the Grand Slam. He said congratulations on to him. Winning the Masters, winning his first major in years now. He asked, what are our thoughts on Rory McIlroy's winning? Where does this put him in line in terms of one of the greatest golfers to ever play this game? Completely honest, I've watched Rory McIlroy for a very long time now, watching golf more regularly as somebody who has wanted to get into sports media. You know, golf is a part of that. And Rory McIlroy is one of those guys who always comes to play. He's got that cutthroat attitude. He's trying to be a killer. But it always seems like in the majors he has those moments where he makes a bad mistake or something, and he would just miss an opportunity to do something fantastic. And this was one, too, that it came down to the wire. I mean, this was maybe one of the best Masters I'd watched in a long time. I had never heard of Aberg. I never heard of that young man from Sweden, I think it is. I believe it's Sweden. He played tactically fantastic golf, just absolutely down the line, making drive after drive, hitting every single ball, putting himself in that competition with Justin Rose and Rory McIlroy. I mean, Rory started off so strong there towards the middle of the thing, and then at the end, he started to come down. He had some moments where he started to kind of fall off a little bit as Justin Rose was starting to make his climb. And at some point, they pulled even, right? They were neck and neck with each other for a while, and then Rory takes the lead, and then Justin Rose hits a putt to take the lead. I mean, Rory McIlroy, though, hit some shots that I know that most professionals probably can hit, but the fact that it's him being able to put the ball in a certain place, that it's able to roll a certain way, that it's got the spin to be able to make sure that it has extra movement on it and have good approach to the cup. It is everything about his way of playing golf this past weekend at the Masters was, as the name says, masterful, in my opinion. He came up clutch when it was needed, and he needed this to complete the Grand Slam, which, for those that don't know, winning all 4 majors, right? Getting it done. He goes then to the final hole of the day, 18th hole. Simple, easy putt. Looks like it should be makeable. He misses. Goes from a birdie to a par, going to a playoff, right? Going to a playoff all of a sudden. Tied. And sure enough, wouldn't you know it, Justin Rose gives it his all. He couldn't make it happen. Rory sinks his final putt on the day after an incredible shot, mind you, and falls to his knees in beautiful fashion as he wins the Masters. He gets a green jacket. He completes the Grand Slam, the 6th player of all time in golf in the history of the PGA to ever accomplish this. I mean, an incredible experience to watch. And I'm not a big fan of Rory McIlroy. I'm not. I'm not the biggest golf fan in general, but when it comes to golfers, Rory McIlroy is kind of low on my list. But I will say, watching him win the Masters was a sight to see. It was a moment to experience, right? It's the same thing as watching when Tiger Woods won the Masters. It's the same thing as watching any of these guys get their first opportunity to win a green jacket. That green jacket is very important to the game of golf. And for a guy like Rory, who had been there I believe it's his 11th or 12th time, something like that they said. Like, he multiple times, he keeps going. He keeps trying. And he just never could make it over the line. He would just miss something. Something would not be there. And finally, he has his moment. Right? Finally, he has his moment. And he's going up against some of the world's best golfers. I mean, Bryson DeChambeau was right there. Scottie Scheffler's right there. It's an incredible scene to see a guy like Rory McIlroy achieve a goal that you always know he had in the back of his mind that he wanted more than anything. Congrats to Rory McIlroy. Honestly, in the placement of all-time great golfers, I think he's got to be up there. There's been a lot of them. But he's one of those who I think when it comes down to it in the history of golf, we're going to remember him for a lot of the great moments, for a lot of great moments that he had. Unfortunately, it took a while to finally get here, but he's in an all-time great category now. Congrats to him. Congrats to the game of golf, too, and to the PGA. It's a strong showing for all of them in this one. I was impressed. I was very impressed. Thank you for the question, though, Darren. I appreciate it. All right, next question we've got. This comes from Miles. Miles is asking us a question about the Phoenix Suns. He said, I grew up in Phoenix. I now live in Texas, but I just got to know, why is it that the Phoenix Suns have not had the success that they've had in the past? Yeah, listen. Part of the problem for the Phoenix Suns this year, look, you got Kevin Durant, you got Devin Booker, you've got Bradley Beal, right? Bradley Beal opted out of his no-trade clause to join the Phoenix Suns, and everybody kind of goes, well, this should be a no-brainer. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be a top seed in the West. They're going to find a way to be able to make the playoffs, maybe make the Western Conference Finals, yada, 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 yada. We've said this all before. I think what failed them is obviously no defense. There's a lot of shooters. Nobody's trying to guard anybody. Like, Bradley Beal's an okay defender. Devin Booker brings energy, but he's not really a great defender by any means. And Kevin Durant, he can kind of defend. He's a better defender, I think, than people give him credit for. But you don't have a shot blocker really on that team that you can go trust. You don't have a perimeter stopper that you can go out and say, he's going to lock it down, no threes, no drive to the baskets, right? He's going to make sure that those guys stay out and do their best. This was a manufactured team. That's the best way I can put it. Manufactured like in any sort of factory, right? You put it together and you put the pieces in there and you go, they all fit fine, and everyone says, yeah, sure, it fits fine, it looks nice and all that's, but does it work properly? Did you test it? Well, no, we didn't test it. But hey, it looks good, right? It looks nice. Yeah, it looks nice. It's a nice draw card for Phoenix. But they never really seemed to have the chemistry. Those guys, if it wasn't one guy was hurt, another guy was hurt, or one wasn't playing well, there was always something with that team that just felt off, right? It was always the question, do they have the right coach? Do they have the right stars? Do they have the right players around said stars? Is the front office good enough to be able to make the right decisions? Are they going to be able to compete in a very heavily contested West? I mean, you would think they should be able to beat Oklahoma City, but OKC seemed to kind of work them every single time. Now, Phoenix got their wins. Of course they got their wins. But what's ironic about this is that this was supposed to be a team that everybody was looking at to say, man, we got another big three here. This should be lights out, balls to the wall, a lot of offense. But then others were saying, yeah, but who's defending? And then everybody comes with their excuse. Oh, well, this guy and that. No. You need a legitimate reason and answer for why this is going to work. You're not giving us anything. You're coming up with the excuses that seem to be best used to try and say, like, oh, well, this will be a team that'll be a star-studded. Are you sure about that? Everything about them felt fabricated from the moment that they got put together. Yes, I did believe that they were going to be a playoff team like everybody else did because they have the right shooters, the stars, the guys that could easily get them 50, 55 wins. But they're here. They're not in the play-in tournament. They're just outside of that. Right? Not in the playoffs, of course, because they're way too far outside of that. And what's more interesting here, though, too, is that they're not even in the lottery pick situation. They were bad enough to not be in the playoffs or play-in, but they weren't bad enough to be in the lottery for a lottery pick. So they can't even get a quality player in the draft, potentially. Or at least that's what it appears to be, right? Phoenix saw the machine and said, yeah, let's go with this. This will sell. This felt broken from the moment it got together. Never felt like there was any real collaboration going on with this team. That's why Phoenix failed. No chemistry, fabricated situation. You tried to put pieces together that aren't going to work. When you're putting a business together, you want to make sure that the pieces you have work. Friends or not friends, you got to make sure that you're putting everybody in place that's going to be able to do their job, right? This guy's going to be the CEO. This guy's financially good. He's going to be the CFO. Oh, this guy's going to be the COO. This guy, you got to find those people. They don't have to be your friends, but they do have to be people that you can trust within your business. And I think this is one of those where Phoenix just went, well, here's three guys with big names, right? We drafted one, so we'll just go get the other two. Okay, that's great, but do you know if they work well together? Well, they seem like friends. Okay, that's great, but they don't have to be friends, but they have to work well together. I can be buddy-buddy with a lot of people that I work with, sure, but if we don't work well together, business is not going to go. Simple as that. Environment, people you're around, all that type of stuff makes for what your production is going to be personally and what the business outcome is going to be on that side of things as well. Sports, running a restaurant, running a corporation, doesn't matter. It works all the same in many ways. I'm sorry your Phoenix Suns lost, my man. Miles, I wish you all the best. I don't know what's next for Phoenix other than they may have to blow it up. They may have to blow it up and trade away Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant to try and rectify whatever's left of them before Devin Booker eventually says, yeah, I'm out of there too. And he might be gone as well. So I wish you all the best in your Phoenix Suns. Maybe think about switching teams. Just saying, you don't have to, but I'm giving you the option that it is out there. I appreciate the question. And last but not least, it's a little bit of a sadder topic, in some kind of way. I got a couple of emails from people, no one in specific, but just a couple of emails asking me about what I thought about the Kyren Lacy situation in college football. So for those that don't know, former wide receiver for LSU, the team that I watch, Kyren Lacy, recently just passed away, unfortunately, due to the fact that he was apparently being pursued by the police and I apparently decided he was going to take his own life, which is, yeah, it's sad. It's sad to hear that it has been ruled a suicide and that this is a guy who had great talent, right, who had a lot of opportunities sitting in front of him to go to the NFL, change his life, despite the fact that, yes, he had this looming case over him of having crashed his car into another individual that ultimately took the life of the other person. And then just like a week later, he's going to the NFL Combine. So in many ways, I feel sad for the fact that this young man has passed. In other ways, I'm conflicted because obviously there was certainly trouble that followed him as well. But the question I got asked, and that came directly from our guy Bradley, not Jake Bradley, just Bradley is his name. He asked us the question of, do we think that Kyren Lacy could be a warning sign for college athletes and athletes in general? I think Kyren Lacy's situation can be a warning sign for a lot of people, right? And that warning sign is plain and simple, and I'll keep this just short, really, for everybody out there. If you're feeling a certain way, please talk to somebody. Don't keep your emotions inside yourself, right? Please let people know what's going on. Know that, yes, bad things sometimes happen, and yes, as unfortunate and awful as they might be, you know, it's not the end of the world for you. You can still live a life. Unfortunately, you do have to pay the consequences for those actions that you have taken. And I feel bad too, because the family of the parent of the man who was lost in that situation, they will not be able to get justice because of the fact that now Kyren Lacy's gone. And it is a sad moment to see that a person can fall on such hard times. But, you know, listen, I'm also sitting here knowing full well that, you know, I personally myself have gotten to those points, not necessarily that sort of point with Kyren Lacy, but I think we've all had those moments where we've kind of hit the low. I mean, if you know me personally, you know I've hit some low, very low moments in my life. Whether you have seen me be in them directly, or you've just heard about me tell you them indirectly, or directly or indirectly. But it is I do think that Kyren Lacy can be a warning sign just for everybody out there individually, just to be more open. Don't keep your feelings in. You know, I say this all knowing I'm somebody who is still one who struggles with talking about my feelings and telling people how I feel. I'm somebody who kind of grew up in that idea of just like, keep it to yourself. You don't need to worry about it. But I've also kind of learned that could become a problem, because that can lead to some very bad thoughts and feelings and possible experiences that can follow with those thoughts and feelings. And it's important for us to be able to share what's going on with ourselves, make that more of a relatively common thing. It is okay, especially for men. It's okay, guys, if you want to be able to express yourself to men or women, your parents, your girlfriend, your friends, whatever. You know, perhaps it's not publicly deemed as okay, but it's okay to have emotions and cry if you're feeling a certain way. That's something I have definitely tried to learn more of. It's not easy, though. But it's okay to have those feelings and thoughts and emotions, but expressing them to somebody can very much help you, and that needs to be made a more common theme in our lives, I think, more than ever. So it's unfortunate he has passed, you know, with the troubles that he had. It's unfortunate that justice cannot be served now because of his passing. I wish he had been able to reach out and help. I had seen his father put out a message that said, you know, he just wished he would have been able to, I guess, talk to his son more. And, you know, and again, this goes for anybody. I don't care if you're a teenager who's listening to this, or if you're an adult in your 40s or 50s listening to this stuff. Please find an avenue, find something, find someone that you can talk to, a therapist, a friend, a wife, your kids, whatever it might be. Find somebody that you can have a conversation with to kind of extract all those hard negative emotions and feelings that you might have, to try and eliminate that so that you can be the best person for yourself. Because if you're not being the best of you, you're not being the best for anybody else. And you know, as much, like I say, I still deal with it to this day. I fight through trying to pretend, and the people around me know when I'm pretending. They can tell when something's wrong with me, as much as I try to believe they don't, but they do. I know they do. I'm sure they do. But it's those people around me that always kind of I have to be able to confide stuff in, and they're able to then help pull me out of the mud, get me out of the deep end of the ocean, if you will. And I'm forever thankful to all of you out there. You all mean a lot to me. I can't say that enough. And I hope that all of you have somebody somewhere in your life that is like that as well. And if you don't, please find somebody, even if it's a professional, right? I mean, for God's sakes, I found one of those people one time just sitting in a diner. Guy's 77 years old. I still hang out with him. And he's one of our big supporters, too, even though the guy doesn't really know how to work a computer too well. But every once in a while, he's a random guy I just met in a diner, but every once in a while, he just calls and just like, how's things going? How you doing? What's going on? It's amazing. It's amazing what happens when people are willing to reach out and show how much they care, because they do want to. All the respect in the world to Kyren Lacy and his passing, to his friends and his family. All the respect to the family of the man who was passed away from the incident that occurred with Kyren Lacy as well. A big impact, obviously, for all of us out there who are football fans and everything, for LSU and everything. It's tragic, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, this can be avoided, I think. And you only hope that by chance we can find ways to be able to intervene and stop this kind of stuff before it happens again. So I thank you all so much for those questions. I'm sorry this ended on a little bit more of a sadder note. But with that, thank you again, everybody. I appreciate it. That's going to do it for this segment here, and that's going to do it for our show. Kind of a relatively more quicker show for you guys out there, but we appreciate you guys watching, listening, all that good stuff. Means a lot to us that you guys would stick around with us and be with us, be the great fans that you are. If you guys want to watch us, as always, too, you can always find us. We're on YouTube and on Twitch. It's youtube.com/xbombsports and twitch.tv/xbombsports as well. If you guys want to find us anymore, follow us anymore with what we got going on, we're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on all the social media stuff. We're also now on TikTok as well, uploading clips, again, from our man Frank the Tank, putting out those quick clips for us, those reels. For all of us at X-Bomb, Blow the Whistle, and Bad Karma, and whatever other shows we got going on, ladies and gentlemen. Also on that, too, if you want to ask us any more questions as well, it's at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. We want to hear from you guys. Thank you all so much for those questions. Again, we appreciate you guys voicing having your voice out there, too. Guys, real quick, we got Blow the Whistle coming up here in about a half hour. We're going to be doing our thing. We're going to be talking some sports. We've got a lot of the same stuff we've been hashing here. It's going to be rehashed on that show. That's at sportsdownchicago.com on YouTube. Check that out, ladies and gentlemen. That is Sports Down Chicago's YouTube channel, where you can find us, myself, David Dykstra, Tyler Beautiball, talking all the good things in sports today. As well, you can check out Bad Karma Wrestling every Friday. That's at 11 o'clock p.m. a.m. Central Time. Sorry, I don't know what day it is and what time it is. You guys can check out David Dykstra and No Gimmicks Nick Johnson doing their thing, talking about wrestling. They have just been interviewing some wonderful wrestlers. And some good news for you, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to have a draft show. It is not going to be on location anywhere this time. We're going to do it right here from inside the studio. It is going to be us doing our thing, talking about the draft, the entirety of the first round. Once again, April 24th. I forget what time it starts, but we will give you more of those details as it comes out. So next week, Thursday, we will be live here from the studio talking all the things about the NFL draft. So be on the lookout for that. We will pour out all the information on social media. We'll put that all out there on the shows as we continue to do shows throughout the week. So be ready for that, ladies and gentlemen. It's exciting. It's going to be great. We have a good, solid setup going on. Again, I know it's not on location, but we're going to try to kind of do things maybe more from here for the time being until we can kind of expand out. We're trying to work out some other things, trying to figure out some other opportunities as well. But we hope to see you guys there. And with that, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate you. We love you guys. Thank you for being the greatest fans in the world. We will see you guys next week. And as always, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.